Hi guys, my name's Leah Grant. Welcome to Pure Movement Pilates. This is your serving of fitness. Today we're going to focus on leg flexibility, hip leg flexibility, how to improve leg stretching flexibility, whether you want to reach your toes or whether you're just trying to help to have less low back pain. A lot of that can come from the tightness that we experience in either our hamstrings or our hips. Quad and knee stretch, we'll find a little bit of that as well. All right, so part of the distinction, I think, too, between flexibility and tightness that we might experience is the unique idea of flexibility or stretching versus release. Right? So how do we want to improve our flexibility? We may actually need to improve our mobility, so the ability of our hips to fold or our hamstrings to extend, things like that. So today's going to couple a little bit of work both with a foam roller, and I've got tons of different examples of the foam rollers here. I would recommend a soft foam roller. See how much this guy's really soft, because it's not about just addressing the density or the tightness of the muscle tissue itself, but all of the tissue around the muscle, sort of like a wetsuit, that connected tissue that encases the body and may be causing inflexibility. I also have a TheraBand. This is a green TheraBand. It's about 6 feet, different lengths, whatever you've got, whatever density. It's to help facilitate stretching. So the first thing I want to look at is our hips. So we're going to bring the foam roller behind us, and we're just gently going to start with some rocking up and down, sort of like you're on a swing set. And I'm just, actually this feels really good, just brushing up and down. I'm going to start to shift a little bit of my weight over to the right hip. Now sometimes foam rollers have a mind of their own, so if it feels like it's moving out of position or you need to readjust it, do so. Take it, go wherever you need to. I'm just going to go around the world. I'm going to start to come a little bit more onto just that right side. I'm making circular-like motions as I'm starting to explore tenderness in and around my hip. I'm going to go up to that tightness with kindness and compassion. I'm going to stay beside it, and now I'm going to start to move my leg, exploring sort of like a gentle pinch and twist around that tenderness. I want to picture like a child-proof medicine cap, right? I'm sort of pinching and twisting right around that tenderness, trying to get it to sort of knead the dough to get it to relax. And then I'm going to let it rest and hold. And then I'm going to go back to exploring. And I go back to kind of searching and maybe move the foam roller. Sometimes, again, it's got a mind of its own. It gets a little squirrely. I'm tighter right back here, and I'm going to, again, go beside it. Maybe you want to explore a straight leg. Maybe you like more of a bent knee. So when you are working in any kind of a strength training or conditioning mode, you want to think that the intensity of your recovery is just as important as the intensity and duration of your workouts. So taking some time to think of an active recovery, of really manipulating and hydrating that tissue will be really important to help so that you don't dehydrate, so that you don't injure, so that you don't overstrain a joint, a muscle tissue, right? That you want to, found a nice spot. I'm going to go right up against it, and I'm going to kind of scratch. Then once again, I'm just going to rest and hold. I'm going to start to turn a little bit more onto my side as I'm kind of laying down on the right side of my hip. Now, this hip looks pretty tight. Notice how that knee doesn't come down? I'm going to see, just for the duration of sort of resting and holding here, if that will start to relax. I'm applying pressure right here to kind of the inside of my hip crease. I'm going to start to roll forward a little bit, stretching. Ooh. As I go forward onto that hip, it's a little bit more tender, so maybe be patient with yourself. I'm going to rest my knee on that side. I'm going to hold here, just kind of pressing into what I think is the eye of the hip crease against the foam roller. If you'd like to, you can start to move that hip, open and close. Notice where the tenderness lives in the hips. If we sit for long periods of time, those hips are chronically shut. They're closed, right? They're shortened. So we're trying to open it back up. I'm going to stretch. I'm turning my knee down towards the mat now just a little bit. So I feel sort of like my thigh is facing down. And then I'm going to turn my knee towards you guys as I pull it closed. I'm spiraling it open and down. And then I'm spiraling it parallel and close. So there's a little external rotation. And then a little bit back to parallel. That feels really good to me. So again, always kind of meet those knots with kindness and compassion, moving gently to try to help massage and release them. I'm going to lengthen the leg. I'm going to rest and hold. I'm going to push into my arms and my feet. I'm just going to help myself back up to seated. Ooh, that's a lot on the hip. Okay, I'm going to flip and face the other way. So, I'm just going to start back at the beginning. Gently circling around both sides. I'm going to start to come over to one side. Really soft foam roller here is easier. It's more, I shouldn't say easier, it's more gentle into those areas of chronic tightness or tension that we might experience. I'm still just making kind of circles. I'm looking for areas of tightness. I'm going to go beside it, and then I'm just going to gently start to move the hip open and close. Maybe rest and hold. Putting just a gentle pressure right there on that tender spot. I'm going to close it. I'm going to go back to my broad brush strokes. Picture kind of like I'm painting my hip and I'm prepping the wall, or I'm prepping the larger tissue, the whole surface area of that left glute, looking for tenderness. I found some. It's like I need to patch a part of the wall. I'm going to go right beside it. I'm going to stay gently beside it as I just move, smoothing that out. I'm going to start to lengthen the leg just because that feels different. And then rest and hold. Good. We're going to go a little bit more now right onto the side. So I'm going to kind of feel like I'm lining up the hip right there with the foam roller as I lay myself down right there kind of into the eye of my hip crease. I'm going to stay here for a moment. I'm getting a little bit of a stretch here through the right side of my hip as well. And then I'm going to bring the right knee on top of the foam roller. I'm just going to rest here. I'm going to start to pull that left knee in and out. And in and out. Found a knot right there. I'm going to stay right here, kind of beside it. And I'm just going to picture that I'm going to shift my weight back a tiny bit and then forward just a tiny bit. I'm trying to get my left leg to relax completely onto the mat. I'm going to start to spiral that knee down as I'm sort of opening the hip crease. And then I'm going to close the hip crease. And then I'm opening the hip crease. And close the hip crease. I think I'm going to do that once more. Opening. Oof. As I close, slowly, carefully, I'm just, again, going to try to keep my body quiet, soft, as I press myself all the way up. Whoa, that's a lot into kind of the hips. So take a moment. If it feels like there's a lot of blood flow suddenly rushing down into that area where you had all that compression, move as it feels good. We're going to work into now a little bit of some stretching. Whew. It's like your legs are waking up. So grab onto your TheraBand. Mine's very long, but I like this length too. And we're going to lay down onto our back. Bend at your knees. Double check, try as best you can to find your neutral pelvis. So it feels like you're sort of balanced, really trying to balance on either side, right to left. You're going to bring your right foot into the TheraBand. Just extend the right leg up, right? And then you're going to reach up, grab onto the loops, and then you're just going to let gravity drop those elbows and let the arms hang. So they're just hanging off that TheraBand. And then, without changing the position of your leg, so it's not that you're just yanking it towards you, not yet. We'll be there in a minute. I want you to try to articulate from the ankle. So you're going to push your heel plate away from your sit bone. And we're going to breathe. We're going to acclimate to this stretch. And then I want you to think ever so slightly that your right sit bone is going to point to your left foot, so that your waist, your hips, stay open, right? We're not jamming everything up into and building congestion. I want you to think that you're still really fluid and open in the spread of your sacrum, your glutes, and your low back. And then, if you would like to, don't move the pelvis. Start to pull the femur bone closed, bringing it towards you, but keep everything quiet. You've got the TheraBand to help you here. So ideally, those deep hip flexors are off. We don't want them to turn on. I want you to really think that gravity and the TheraBand is helping you out here. Keeping your right sit bone turning towards your left foot. As you're drawing it in, I like to picture that the head of my femur bone is just dropping deeply back into the pelvis. Nothing else is holding it there but gravity and the guide of the TheraBand. Gently bend. I'm going to hold the foot in that TheraBand, and then again I'm going to push and try to kind of open up the eye of my right hip crease here as I'm pressing into the face of my thigh, keeping that waist open. Coming out of that position, we're going to go ahead, place the right foot, pick the left foot up, press. Ooh, that's tight already. Okay, so this side's going to be a little different for me. Reaching up, I'm just going to grab onto the TheraBand, and I'm going to try to keep my leg first at about a 90-degree fold. Then articulate from the ankle. Shoulders are on your back, letting the TheraBand just guide the movement. I'm trying to push my heel plate away from my sit bone while in neutral. Notice if you feel like you are falling into your left waist. Notice if you feel like your pelvis is rocking. Mine dipped to the left, so I'm going to keep my pelvis neutral, find a little bit of connection to that right foot. All right, then, without changing the position of the pelvis, I'm going to start to pull. Believe me, I'm pulling my left leg to my nose. What I'm not doing is changing the shape of my low back. I can, right? I can change that. I don't want to. I want to just look at the leg, the mobility of my left hip joint as it relates to the tightness in, for me right now, it's all the calf actually. Neutral pelvis. So I feel the weight of the head, spread of the rib cage, weight of the pelvis. I have negative space underneath my navel at my lumbar spine. And I'm folding deeply at the hip crease. Man, that is a very tight leg today. Days are different, right? I'm going to open up the front of my hip. Good. Not as tight here on this side, just that left hamstring and calf. Gently pressing that away. All right. Pick yourself all the way up through center. All right. So we try to stretch open those legs a little bit. Now we're going to move into a little bit kind of a saw position to help stretch. Now, propping yourself up, if your hamstrings are really tight, this alone is going to be hard. Some ways that you can modify. Go ahead and take the mat, sort of like you're going to double it up on itself, and then you sit on it. And notice how it's going to pitch your bottom just a little higher than your heels. And you can double it up again if you feel like you need a little more assist. I am okay, so I'm going to leave it there. So I'm going to instead think about the kind of the connection that I had with the TheraBand, a little softness around the knees, and a neutral low back, right? So what is the relationship here? If you feel like you're living in a tucked position and you've got a slouch, your hamstrings are still really tight and short. Give yourself a prop. Sit on a block. Double up your mat. Whatever you need to, so that as best you can, you've got a little bit more of that sits bones, tailbone, triangle pointing straight down. Bring the hands behind you. Sometimes this helps. If you push into your arms just a little bit, notice how that kind of props your body up, sort of like you're a picture, right? And these are the stand of the picture propping you up. Or sometimes I think of like a bike and your arms are your kickstand. I'm also getting a nice stretch through the bicep and the front of my elbow. Use a sense of push into those hands. Gently start to peel that left arm up. And you're going to push into your right hand to reach over towards your right big toe. Or little toe. Technically, you're supposed to saw off your little pinky toe. What I do want you to be careful of is that you're not falling into the right lane. So use your right hand to kind of push you over to the left, even though your left arm is reaching towards the right. And you're going to get a stretch everywhere. Picking yourself all the way back up. I feel it in my shoulders, in my waist, in my legs, in the hips. There's the spread of the sacrum and the low back. Saw off that pinky toe. Pick it up. Lift. Push the arm so that your body is going forward. And I'm back into the calves, stretching through those hamstrings. Let's do that once more each way. Lift, push, 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 push. Feel that left sit bone. Back up. Lift, up, push. Feel that right sit bone. And back up. Whew. Now I'm going to pull both knees, helping myself out, just that little bit. Bottoms of the feet come together. Here's the eyes of the hips, sort of like spread wide and open, base of the pelvis. I'm going to keep my flat back as much as I can, looking here at this hip range of motion, and I'm going to pull like a lever. The body tips forward. Shoulders are quiet. Last one. Gently bringing yourself back up. Thanks so much, guys. That's class. See you next time.